Well, last week I told Neil Melancon that his stories on food prices were continuing to depress me. Consumers just can't seem to get a break out there right now at the grocery store.
So this week we sent him on a mission to see how these prices were affecting shoppers like you and me. And here's what he found out on this week's Bottom Line.
The Bottom Line is brought to you by the Cotton Board, strengthening the fiber of our industry.
I've been talking a lot here lately on the show about the cost of producing food and why it's been going up here. But what I thought I'd do today is come out to Fresh Pickins in Baton Rouge and talk to the people who food prices affect, you at home, the consumer.
Of course, it's no surprise that most folks are aware of the fact that prices are going higher. Some of the people we talked to said that it's why they were there at Fresh Pickins Market to not only save on fresh fruits and vegetables, but also to supplement their protein intake as the price of meat is, of course, going up. Last week, we talked about the rising price of beef, but it's not just the cost of meat. Almost all grocery store items are going up. One side effect I noticed is that with many of these prices going higher, awareness of where food comes from also rose. I found many people were aware of both local issues as well as national problems with food production. The question I had for all of them was if and how higher prices were affecting them at home.
I mean, it's hard to find cheap meat. You know, I have to come here because the vegetables are fresh and they're cheaper. But it's really barren when you got a family to take care of. You know, you have to find something to cook almost every day, and you just can't go buy a whole lump of food. You know, ground meat is like, what, $13? Yesterday I bought a pack of chicken wings, $12 for a small pack. So it's like ridiculous.
They have gone up, you know, but that's understandable when you see what happens out west of them droughts. And then even in Florida with all their problems they have with rain.
We're too old to have to look and buy something we don't want. We're going to get the best if it only means we only have one thing instead of two.
Have food prices gone up for you lately?
Yes, but I've been trying to incorporate more beans and other, like quinoa and other protein sources in to keep the prices down.
Now, most everyone I talked to had a good idea of at least some of what was costing them. Tremisa Williams knew that transportation costs were adding a lot to the cost of the grocery store bill. That ties into another hidden aspect, the cost that labor plays into food production. Fresh Pickins does not just refer to what you can pick up here, but it's also how that food was obtained on the farms, picked by hand. The cost and availability of labor is something owner Russell Saya says is driving up overhead.
When we have an increase in the cost of labor, it has to be passed on to the consumer. But not only is there an increase in the wage, it's also, remember, there'll be an increase in taxes, labor taxes, as well as workman's compensation and other factors that are not necessarily directly wage related. So all of those costs have to be captured in the cost of doing business and passed on to the consumer.
When you tally everything up between labor, availability, weather, transportation, and all of the other overhead costs, it creates what Saya calls a ripple effect, something that drives prices for consumers on one end and drives farmers on a business on the other.
It used to be we'd pay them less money because they were a local product and they didn't have the cost of transportation, but now we pay them more money in many cases because it is a local product. We want to keep the local farmer in business, and we're paying the value for the freshness.
Now, of course, most things sold here at Fresh Pickins are from local sources, something they pride themselves on. One thing, though, that I did find were these seedless grapes. They're a product of Chile. That means that they were grown in Chile, put on a ship, sailed through the Panama Canal, up through the port of New Orleans, and wound up here in Baton Rouge, cheaper than what it would have cost to be produced here in Louisiana or anywhere in the United States. The bottom line is, this is indicative of the rising cost of food production and everything associated with it. And if nothing changes, Mike, Kristen, prices are only going to go one direction, up. Back to you guys.
Good story. Neil Melancon, thanks. And I can tell you, one of the fallouts from the spike in grocery prices that I have noticed is the price of limes, and we spoke to Russell Sy about that, and he said that the same box of limes that used to cost him $12 to $15 a year ago now costs him $120.
Well, thank you for joining us on This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Be sure to join us next week when we'll show you how one group of hospitals is promoting health by providing its employees with healthy food.
Until then, you can visit our website, twilatv.org, to watch any of our stories from this week's show or past programs. For Kristen Oakes and the rest of the TWILA team, I'm Michael Dana. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope to see you again right here next week.